Hey, I want to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today is a very special episode. We've been working on this book for a long, long time, and I'm happy to welcome back to the show Theron Whitney, who's the vice president and co-owner over at Xibeo. Theron, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
All right, so we got a lot to talk about. When I kind of think about us working together over the last couple of years, I have learned so much from working with you about the trade show industry, about trends, what's going on. I know you got some updates today that we're going to talk about, things with LED screens, rentals, just a whole lot of things, and of course the main event where we'll talk about your book and the book that we published together and your portion in it called "Building Loyalty: The Key to Success." But before we get into all of that, we are going to start this episode. I already know you know the drill. You've been on the show. We'll start this episode the way that we start them all, with our Mission Matters Minute. So, Theron, we at Mission Matters, we amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. That's our mission. Theron, what mission matters to you?
Um, I would just say for me, the mission is taking care of our clients as if they were part of the family.
Yeah. It's great. I love bringing mission-based individuals on the line to share, why they do what they do, how they're doing it, and really to dig in and figure out what we can learn so that we all grow together. So great having you back on. And I guess just to get us kicked off, I don't want to assume that, we've been pretty blessed. So the show's grown, it keeps growing. I don't want to assume that maybe some of our newer listeners caught some of the work we've done before. So maybe just start off with telling us a little bit more about like how you got started on this path to, the trade show industry.
Well, it's kind of a long, funny story, but I'll try to tell you the short version of it. I was in sales, retail sales for 7 years, and then got a little tired of that. And a friend of mine was out buying store fixture displays, and he came across a display house in Ventura, California, and he said, "Hey, these people sell trade show exhibits. Why don't you check them out?" So I did, and that was 1993, and since then I've been in the industry now almost 30 years. Wow. So yeah, it's been a long, long journey, and then started my own company with my partner uh, 22 years ago. So we've been just having lots of fun and making solutions for clients, and just having a good time.
Yeah, it's great. And yeah, you've one of the reasons I like to bring up your history as well is just because you've been doing this a long time. So you've seen trends in the trade show. I mean, you obviously, weathered the pandemic, all those other things, and you've come back stronger than ever, especially with all the events going on. I know we just did one yesterday, and we got some other conferences we're gonna do, and it's picking up. To me, I mean, what I'm seeing is that people want to be out, people want to be at these events. Like, is it busy? Like, what are you seeing?
Yeah, absolutely. 20 as of 2021, when the industry started coming back, there was just a slow trend upward.
Mhm.
Last year, we started seeing it really grow, but there was still customers from Asia and Europe that weren't really making it out to the trade shows.
Mhm.
And this year, now everybody is back. Everyone, Asian clients, European companies, coming to the U.S. to exhibit and be in the trade show world. So we have seen an additional uptick in business for
Mhm.
us to supply the trade show exhibits, as well as at the shows. I'm being told by clients that they are being inundated with new customers, new leads, new sales requests. I mean, it's crazy how busy out there it is.
Well, that's great to hear. I'm glad because it's a big industry, and especially for business owners, and obviously lots of different types of trade shows and conferences. But I feel like people getting together and like those exchanging of ideas, and like for some of what I've been hearing, it's like, okay, if you haven't had been to a trade show that you used to go to for many years, and now you're going back and you're kind of getting back with your buddies or the other people that you've worked with for all the years, and you kind of maybe lost touch with,
Yeah,
assuming you didn't have that online. Even if you did keep that online, portion of the relationship going, it's just not the same. So,
yeah,
yeah, that's what I'm seeing too.
yeah.
So I want to get into the main event here. So the book. I mean, we've been working on this for a long time. So your portion in the book, so called "Building Loyalty: The Key to Success."
Mhm.
What was your inspiration, and what do you hope the readers will get from reading this?
Well, I've been in sales a long time, and as I mentioned, we've run our business for 22
Mhm.
years, and the one aspect of staying as long as we have is developing loyalty in your clients as well as your staff, and that's not really something that they teach in business school. They teach you the the basics,
Yeah.
but the loyalty aspect I learned over the years in retail sales to get repeat clients, and you want to take care of them. The customer service is really important. Being a problem solver, finding solutions, and that develops the loyalty of your customers so that they keep coming back to you. And then on the flip side, when you're dealing with your employees, you want your employees to be happy. You want them to be loyal to you. You don't want to train somebody for a year, then have them leave. So
Mhm.
you want to keep your employees happy and have incentives for them to stay and work as hard as they can, and also take some ownership in the company as well, and in their work. So you got to balance both of those aspects in loyalty to just keep your company going strong.
So one of the things that you also taught me, and it's pretty interesting, and I talk about it actually pretty often. I know you don't know this, but when you kind of described to me what was going on during the pandemic, and we'd had some conversations, and maybe unfortunately, some players did not last, and they didn't make it through that business. But there were individuals like yourself and many others that kind of pooled together resources. And what I mean by resources is I don't mean funds. I mean like equipment and different things. And it really was, I don't think that you never gave me the impression that it was like a cutthroat industry in the past, but it wasn't necessarily as, everybody getting together, like, and it could be something as simple as I have a client that needs XYZ exhibit or setup, and
Right.
it's not in my inventory right now because somebody else is using it. Hey, do you have one that I can, borrow, and that I can still make sure that I do this? Because now, not saying it wasn't like this before, but now the client and just making sure everything's comes together like on schedule, on time, everything else, it just had a whole new level of importance. Can you maybe speak on that a little bit and kind of what took place? Because I think it's super interesting, and I think it's also a good case study for maybe some other industries to think about.
Yeah, I guess in the beginning, when I first started in the industry, it was very competitive. There were
Yeah,
lots of companies out there that were doing what I was doing, and I don't want to say cutthroat, but it was
yeah,
just, we'll
yeah.
just say it was strongly competitive. And after the recession, uh, we've survived that, and some companies kind of disappeared because they didn't have the abilities that we did. We were doing a lot of custom rentals at that time,
Mhm,
and so people started to get on board with that idea and see that, oh, there's an opportunity there to offer something that wasn't normal in the industry.
mhm,
And then after COVID, I was on LinkedIn quite a bit, and Twitter, and just kind of reaching out to others in my industry, trying to figure out, well, what can we do?
yeah,
How can we help each other? Because trade shows were shut down for the first time ever, and
mm,
there was no light in sight in terms of where we were coming back. And so a lot of brainstorming, and in doing so, there was a lot of new networking that happened.
mm,
And I don't know, it was kind of like there's a crisis, and you kind of develop a camaraderie with those that survive, and you're really there to just see each other
mm,
succeed. It was just a completely different mindset. Now there's fewer exhibit houses out there that are our size or smaller, and we don't want to see our industry go completely
yeah,
fall away. And also, there's a lot of big companies that don't want to help small clients.
mm,
So it was just kind of like a really good synergy that developed after COVID, where a lot of companies who couldn't maybe do
mhm,
custom displays, but they had a client that wanted to have a custom exhibit,
mhm,
they would reach out to a company like mine and say, "Hey, can you help me?"
yeah,
And we would be more than happy to do that. And then same thing, if I have a show on the East Coast and shipping costs were outrageous, I would reach out to a company out there and say, "Hey, can you help me?" And so you just kind of develop that rapport and
wow,
synergy, and everybody wants to work together, which is totally different than when I first started, but
yeah.
it's really nice to see how it turned around.
Oh, it's a great story. That's why I had to have you say it because it's a great story on how industries that even were competitive. I like your word, much better than mine. That's much more, much more PC. I agree that we're maybe pretty competitive to kind of come together like that. And really, ultimately, it's just to, to help the client. Like that's the main thing, which everybody hopefully is in business to do. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. You mentioned something about custom rentals. So maybe for that niche, if you will, like maybe tell us how it was before, and maybe some of the things and some of the evolution of it, and what your company's been able to do.
Sure. In the beginning, if you wanted to rent an exhibit, you would rent it from the show decorator, and
Yeah.
it would be basically like a Tinker Toy set. It would be just a bunch of horizontal aluminum pieces that you would put some PVC in between, and you have a booth.
Mhm.
Um, Over time, it has evolved into a modular system that was a bunch of panels, and we kind of collected those over the years from clients that would trade in a booth, or we would buy a used booth, or a booth was abandoned, and we would just kind of collect that into our inventory. And so we started offering solutions that use those systems, or maybe we had to buy a couple little things to help give the client exactly what they would want. And because we knew they would rent again, it was an investment that was worth it on our part. We maybe didn't
Mhm.
make a lot of profit in the beginning, but each successive time that we would rent it, clients would be happy. We'd give them a look that no one else had, and it helps sustain us. Um, Now, everybody who is kind of our size or larger, who has the inventory and the space to hold it, is offering custom rentals of a sort.
Mhm.
Um, but not everybody will have a shop. Not everybody will have design experience. They have to
Yeah.
sub that out. So what we do now is a client will tell us what they want, and rather than go to an ad agency or go to a marketing company, they just tell us, here's what we want, and we can
Mhm.
use our experience, 22 years, or for me 30 years in the industry, and design or create a solution right on the spot, right in front of them, and say, oh, here's what we can do, and then make it completely custom, scale it to their brand, and they have a look that looks as if they just bought it, but in fact they spent a third of the cost to just rent it.
Yeah, and what you're doing, I won't let you skirt past that fast because what you're doing is so like you're making it easy for people, and it's not that easy. Like to
No,
download your brain and your team in 30 years of experience to design a booth on the spot, like
yeah,
you're making it like, oh yeah, you just do this. But come
yeah,
on, like
no big deal.
that's not an easy feat. I can't let you like just glance over that. That's not a normal experience in putting one of these together.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, and again, I think it comes from the experience, but also I have fun doing it. So for me,
Mm,
those 30 years, I enjoy it. I always learn something new. I'm always
yeah,
out there. I go to museums, I go to art galleries, so I kind of pick up on different creative ways to explore how we could translate something into a trade show display.
mm,
And so you kind of get the experience, but you also get the creativity because I enjoy what I do. And I've
yeah.
helped other exhibit houses, come up with solutions, or fabricators that are saying, well, how do we do this? And, I'm up for the challenge. And so I reach out and say, yeah, here, try this. And it goes back to that positive competition, a friendly competition where, I want to see other companies succeed as well, and take care of their clients, because in the end, it's the client that matters.
Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of some, new developments and trends and what's going on in the in the trade show industry currently, I know one of the things that we were talking about is just like costs and certain things, coming down and just booths are getting more fancy. Maybe tell us a little bit more about that.
Um, well, I guess in terms of being fancy, um, there's other features that we
Yeah.
we develop, which are backlit graphics. That's now very popular. A
Hmm.
couple of years ago, it wasn't a big thing, but now everyone does backlit graphics. And then
Hmm.
the LED screens, modular LED screens, are becoming more popular. And think of the big
Hmm.
jumbotrons at stadiums. Now it's scaled to the point where you can build them on the show floor in 2-foot squares, and you can create a big a big wall
Yeah.
and have a visual that's not only lit but moving around and tell your message. It's, like a
Mm.
billboard. It's a,
And it's so and the prices now, this is accessible for small businesses. Like once upon a time, when I say fancy, I mean once upon a time, unless you're a big, car show or something else
right.
like that, and you're spending $1 million or X amount on a booth, then you had it. But now it's like within reach for other businesses as
Yeah,
well.
I say it's reasonable. I mean, it's not the cheapest thing out there.
Of
You
course,
still
yeah.
it's cheaper to do backlit graphics or just regular graphics, but yeah, it's definitely more accessible for companies to have these modular screens and get their message out there, and it just
Mhm.
adds another dimension to really showing off their brand.
Yeah. I wanna go back to the book for a moment. So in kind of putting that the chapter, of course, like what do you think? So circling back to this idea of loyalty and really success, like what do you think were maybe some of your kind of secrets along the way, or some of the things that helped you along the way?
Well, I touched on it earlier. It's being a problem solver, coming up
Hmm.
with solutions. One of the things that I learned early on in my sales career was try to be as try to be a problem solver to your customer, even if it's something that's not within your scope or your field.
Yeah.
For example, I had a client that said, um, I need to create a big photo booth to take pictures of cars in my warehouse.
Yeah.
How do I do that? Well, I never had any experience for it, but I said, well, I think it's something that I could do. Let me look into it for you. I never say no. That's a good thing and a bad thing. But I didn't say no. I said, let me figure it out, and looked up, other studios and what they do, and we came up with a solution that was a portable studio that
Mm.
he could take pictures of his cars and put it in his warehouse, and it was affordable for him, and it solved all his needs. That particular client comes to me now every year for trade show booths, for store fixtures, for
Mm.
showroom displays, and he just knows that if he needs anything, he comes to me first. And if I tell him, no, I can't do that, then he knows for sure that there's nothing in my world that I can do for him, and
Mm.
he's going to have to go somewhere else. But I always try to make sure that I'm the first person that my clients will come to for,
Yeah.
whatever they need.
Yeah. What would you tell to, I mean, you've been in business for a long time. What would you tell to maybe some of those, a lot of things changing right now in the world, right? The economy, a lot of different things, lots of uncertainty, still a lot of transition after COVID, all of that. And there's this next group of entrepreneurs that are coming up. I know I met some of them. Mission Matters has been doing Tech Week all week, and we were at events. We held some events, and I see all of these new entrepreneurs with all these ideas and all this energy. And man, I'm telling you, Glenn, I'm like, I wish I had that energy still. I don't, not like they have it. I'm like talking about those early 20 sums.
Yeah.
Benefit of hindsight, obviously, a lot of years in business. What kind of words of wisdom or things would you tell to that fresh crop that are coming out?
Well, I've seen that same youthful exuberance, we'll
Yeah.
call it. um,
So
uh,
scary to me.
yeah, uh, and one of the things that I've noticed is no one knows about sales anymore. They don't
Mm,
understand sales. They just someone says, I need this, and they just go to the first thing that they can think of and say, okay, yeah, well, it's this.
yeah.
Um, I think a lot of it is developing rapport, developing a relationship.
Mhm.
If you meet someone for the first time, you don't try to say, um, well, here, why don't you just buy this widget? This is what I'm selling. You
Yeah.
ask a lot of questions. First, you need to find out how are they going to use this? What do they
Mhm.
need it for? What do they have in mind? And really just have a conversation with a customer, or
Mm.
don't try to just sell them something, because in the long run, it's the relationship that matters. It's not what your product is. It's not what
Mm.
you're trying to sell. It's how the customer sees you, and how they get a rapport developed with you, so that in a way you're like friends.
Mm.
They know that they can come to you for anything, and you can feel comfortable telling them, well, you're telling me you want this, but that's going to cost you a lot in shipping, or that's going to break down in a year. You don't want to do that. You should get this thing. I might
Yeah.
not make a lot of money on it, but you're going to be a lot happier. and you develop that trust. You trust in the rapport.
And some of those, I don't know why that is, but you're spot on. And I don't know if it's this concept of we just give Facebook our money for an ad, and then all of
Yeah,
a sudden they're going to buy something and everything's going to be online and this and that. But you're right, that like person to person, all of like just being able to do a real needs assessment. Everything's not a lead intake form. Everything's not like you got to follow up. You need more. There's more to it than that, especially for larger sales. There's more to it than that, and sure, you can get them through a certain amount of the decision making process on the front end, possibly. But the next piece of it, where it's really building that relationship, or like the example you gave, the gentleman who you solve problems from, the first thing he does is come to you, and then after that, if you can't do it in your world, then he's going somewhere else. Like being that real solutions provider.
right.
That's a needs-based assessment, needs-based selling, I should say. That's an art that you're right. That's a good one. I'm in on that one because
Yeah,
I don't know if it's not taught as much or what that is, but I know that's how I kind of grew up in the early days of financial advisor and in finance when I was just starting my training out of college. So yeah, good stuff.
yeah, yeah.
All right, so a lot going on over there. Earlier, you mentioned we were talking about the space, and the space needed to hold some of these exhibits that are or trade show exhibits that are for rent. So, with all that inventory, I mean, coming in and out, I'm guessing you're outgrowing things and you're moving. Like, talk to me, man. You last time I think we had to reschedule because you were in the middle of a move or something like that. Like, huge
Yeah,
new facility.
we were just crammed, and we're still crammed for space. So, um, we've actually been looking to expand for quite some time.
Hmm.
COVID kind of slowed that down,
Yeah.
but now, and just the past 2 years, we've been really looking hard to see what can we do to expand. And so now we're putting the feelers out. Our lease is up soon in the building that we're in, and it's like, okay, we need to get another 10,000 square feet to accommodate all of the work that we've got coming. So it's exciting and it's scary all at the same time.
So I know we're just getting started in promoting your book, and we got a whole lot more promo going on. But I also know you're a creative guy. I'm just curious, and I want the story first. I got to hear first. If you were to write something going on in the future, like what kind of things would you be thinking about, or bringing other content out?
Well, because what I learned early on when I took writing courses, they always say write what you know,
Mm,
and what I know is marketing in the trade show industry, and it's an odd. I was about to say weird, but it's just kind of it's an odd niche to have to work in,
yeah,
and a lot of people in marketing they don't really know that much about trade shows and the ins and outs and dealing with the unions and dealing with freight. And I see that all the time with my
yeah.
clients, and my client base is getting younger and younger. So a lot of them fresh out of college, and they're asking for help on everything.
Mm,
How do we deal with these forms? How do we do this? And if I was to write another book, it would definitely be talking about the ins and outs of trade shows and
yeah.
how to market yourself at a trade show and how to design a booth
Mm,
for a trade show, dealing with the shipping, what to know about that. And there's a lot of details in there. And if you make a mistake, it's going to cost you. And you don't,
mm,
if your boss is relying on you, you want to look like the hero. You don't want to make a lot of mistakes. It's going to cost
mhm.
them money.
Yeah. Man, that sounds like an online course, a platform, a brand, a business builder, a business in a bot. Man, that's a big task. But I
Yeah.
mean, with your experience, that's you'd be doing a good service to the next, especially that next crop that are just getting involved and that really want to get into it. Who knows? You might inspire with your content the next person that's going to take over. So that's awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, Theron, first off, it's been great having you back on the show as always. Always a pleasure to work with you. I'm just curious. I mean, what's next? I mean, what's next for you? What's next for Xibeo?
Um, right now, based on what I'm seeing, what the trends are,
Mm-hmm.
one of the reasons why we have to expand is we're doing more um, showroom designs, more store fixtures,
Mm-hmm.
retail. Uh, because of COVID, the first thought in my mind was we have to expand from just trade shows. So we're taking the marketing solutions, structural solutions that we've done for years, and now we're applying it to stores, we're applying it to showrooms, so we can create some modular brand designs
Mm,
that could easily get installed or be removed from a retail store or from a showroom, corporate, showroom.
yeah.
So we're doing that, and then a lot of rentals,
Mm,
especially for the LED tiles. We're trying to expand our inventory on that because there's a huge demand for it. Um, and then we're also seeing uh, just people wanting to purchase more of their
mm.
exhibits and have bigger exhibits. We're seeing those grow. So it's just kind of like all of these different directions all at once. And getting a new space is going to help that.
Man, that's exciting. You're in the middle of all this. This is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Well, if somebody's watching this or listening to this and they want to follow up and they want to connect with your staff, I mean, what's the best way for them to do that?
Probably the best way is just reach out with an email and just kind of list what your needs are or what you're trying to accomplish or questions, happy to answer. And just reach out to sales@xibeo.com,
Mm.
sales@xibeo.com, or just check out our website, xibeo.com, and you'll see all the examples of what we've been doing for the last 22 years.
It's great. It's a great story, and happy to bring it to my audience. And excited to get this book out even more. So for everybody watching or listening to this, we'll put obviously the website, all that other good stuff in the show notes, as well as the book link, so you can pick up a copy. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters or engaging in an episode, well, I'm bringing on business owners, entrepreneurs, and executives and having them share their mission, the reason behind their mission, why they do what they do, like what gets them fired up in the morning to go out there into the marketplace and make a difference. If that's the type of content that sounds interesting or fun or exciting to you, we welcome you. Hit that subscribe button. We have many more mission-based individuals coming up on the line, and we don't want you to miss a thing. Theron, as always, pleasure having you on this show. So excited to continue promoting this book with you, and thanks again for all you do.
Thanks, Adam. I appreciate it.